All right, everyone. It's a few minutes after, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. Um, Today, we are going to focus, as part of the Kentucky Spring Virtual Fair, we're going to focus on internship opportunities abroad. So my name is Kent Moore. I represent CISabroad, which is an organization based in Massachusetts. I'm personally based in North Carolina as part of our remote team. So today I'm going to speak for hopefully around half an hour. I don't know, actually, I didn't time myself with this, so we shall see how it goes. But if you have questions at any point, please feel free to drop those in the chat. You can also save them until the end of the session, and we can discuss them. I'm happy to take questions at the end, and really hoping to take questions. So please feel free to think about your specific case, and we can dive into that. All right, so what's on the agenda for today? We're going to talk about what is CISabroad, just so you know a little bit about the organization that I represent. We're going to talk about interning abroad. What is it? What different types of experiential learning opportunities are there? Virtual programs, how to find opportunities for your academic or career field, a little bit about funding and process. So really, in all of my presentations these days, I'm having to talk about COVID-19. Of course, I'm sure you're not sick of hearing about it and how it's impacting our lives. The pandemic has really had an effect on education abroad. I think we're in a stage right now where we're somewhat emerging from that. There's light at the end of the tunnel in terms of large numbers of students being able to travel for international experiences. Everyone at CISabroad has had those international experiences, typically in college, and it means a lot to them. And so we're all really hoping for a return to that. But it also means we're also very serious about the pandemic and how what our role is in helping mitigate risk for our participants. So we've implemented a 3-step risk mitigation process, which you can read about on our website. We have site-specific risk management plans. We've really slimmed our program portfolio, and I'll talk a little bit about that later in the session. And then we've made decisions around our refund policy in order to give students and participants as much time as possible to make a decision about preparing to study or intern abroad, which we hope is helpful with just all the uncertainty around making these decisions. So if you have any specific questions around COVID and how it's impacting things, feel free to save those for the end. So CISabroad is the Center for International Studies Abroad, and we are a third-party organization that focuses exclusively on student mobility and international programming around the world. And we've partnered with many of your institutions for a number of years. These are the types of programs that we offer. So summer study abroad, intern abroad, semester, new in 2020, new as of 2020, are virtual programming, which I'll touch on as well. A few things that kind of make CS a little bit different, and I won't spend up too much time here, but a few things that are important to me. Affordability is number one always. As an undergraduate student who studied abroad a few times, I could not have done that without finding and having access to affordable programming. And that's a priority for not only myself, but everyone at CISabroad. We have a lot of students who are first-gen college students, and affordability is key for all of us at your stage. Program support is key throughout the process. When you work with CIS, you have a dedicated program coordinator. And then once you arrive on site, if it's an on-site program, you're working with our site directors. So they're the ones picking you up at the airport, facilitating cultural activities, excursions in and around the country, and being part of your experience from start to finish. And then point number 3 is cultural immersion. This is absolutely key, even in our virtual programs, actually. Cultural immersion is really the foundation of what we do, and we build in opportunities for students to connect with the local culture in meaningful ways. And these are just some recent awards we've won that we're proud of from goabroad.com and gooverseas.com, which are quite helpful resources if you have not check those out already. So really, let's get into the meat of our discussion today around interning abroad. What are the benefits of doing an internship overseas? And we'll talk about, slightly different forms of gaining professional experience versus a traditional study abroad experience where you're taking courses. And I have a quick video for you first. And I like this video a lot. I chose it intentionally because it features our students, our intern abroad students on site talking about their experience. So I'll play this briefly, and then we will talk a bit more.
I would say the work culture here is a lot more laid back than that of America. Back home everything is go, 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 whereas here I feel a lot more relaxed in completing my responsibilities and feel as though I can take my time. Part of that comes with the culture of working in a restaurant. People here like to take their time and enjoy their meal, so that of course makes the service run a lot slower as well.
You create great international connections. For me, I'm a history major. I would love to go into museum studies one day, so I'm creating a great network of connections with professionals.
So I would say one of the most important lessons I've learned is that the importance of doing actual real valuable work in your internship, as opposed to in the U.S. You hear horror stories of just getting coffee and making coffees, not really doing anything that teaches you about the field that you want to go into.
The most important lesson I'm going to take home with me is the importance of a goal-driven mindset, and that being somewhere from set hours isn't as important as the quality of the work that you'll do.
I'm studying to be a dietitian, and so I'm really looking forward to adding the clinical experience onto my resume. I've learned about micronutrient deficiencies and malnutrition treatment here, and I'm really excited to take that back with me to America.
Fun. I get to work on so many different animals, everything from cats, dogs, to goats, to guinea pigs and rabbits, and it's really hands-on. I'm learning how to vaccinate, microchip, give IVs, and do vitals, so yeah.
So interning at the Filmicum Refugee Center has been a really cool experience for me. I've got to witness firsthand how immigration works in Italy, and I would like to apply that in my future career.
There's no hierarchy between things. Instead of it being a vertical landscape, we're working on more of a horizontal landscape, which is something I appreciate. So our relationship between workers is peer and peer rather than boss and associate, which is something I really appreciate and something I'll probably take home with me.
So what I learned here in New Zealand is that you work closer to your boss or the CEO of your company. You don't have to go up through ladders, and you're working in a small group compared to 20 people or more in the organization.
Everybody is very positive, everybody is enthusiastic with their work. I've noticed a lot of teachers back at home may complain a lot about students or have a negative attitude on what is going around or the school environment, but here everybody is always laughing or smiling. Students are so happy and eager to learn. So I've really, kind of learned that just because they're middle schoolers doesn't mean that they don't care to learn, and that if you can find that enthusiasm in them and make lessons interesting and engaging, it will go a long way.
I've been placed at a primary care unit, and I've been able to see different aspects of rural healthcare. As a future medical school candidate, I have to get as much experience in the medical field as possible, and this clinic has definitely made me ready, and I've seen so much that I've not had the opportunity to see yet in the United States.
All right, thank you for indulging me. Watch it again. And listening to that video, I think that shows a really nice just diversity of what's available on our programs overseas. You had students doing clinical studies. The last student there was doing a healthcare internship, working in a restaurant, hospitality setting, and a lot more. So I hope that gives you kind of a few ideas, perhaps. But I wanted to kind of talk through some of the benefits, from my perspective at least, of interning abroad. The biggest thing, the reason it's number one here is gaining real world experience. So, being being there in the flesh, I think, is something we've seen as we've come to realize in this environment is so important. And the ability to put that on your resume and say, yes, I was there. I did that research in rural Thailand on, you know, healthcare or whatever it is. That's really special. Another thing is building a network. So our students, when they participate in our internship programs, the students who are very intentional about this approach to networking really reap the benefits of having a global network. So they know folks in their host country that they can call later for a reference, and that is just enormous. That's a huge benefit when you're out of college and looking for that first job, or even down the road looking for a future career choice. For me, a big one is being able to try on your career in an international setting. So it's like when you're a participant on our intern abroad programs, you're not taking courses, obviously, you're working 15 to 30 hours per week, give or take. And it's like you're trying on a professional life. And it's not just that, the unique aspect is not just that it's new to you, it's a new thing going to work every day, but it's that you're doing it somewhere completely different. And we've had a lot of students who have returned from our intern abroad programs and said, you know, I really like that. I want to try and work abroad again after college. And luckily they have a built-in network to be able to seek out opportunities like that. I don't want to read through all of these, but one that I like to point out is about language. A lot of students ask, you know, do I need to speak the local language in order to do an internship program in Ecuador or whatever it is? And the answer is no. We can accommodate students that who don't speak a word of any other language except English. I will say if you are seeking an internship program in, for example, Argentina, and if you do have some Spanish, that might open up your possibilities into a more interesting or a broader a selection of internship placements. So that's just something to keep in mind. But we can absolutely place students in locations where they don't speak the language. And then last one I'll just touch on is about creating a more independent version of yourself. There's nothing to increase your sense of independence more powerful than having an internship abroad as a college student. It's my opinion, but I think it's a pretty well-founded one. All right, so I want to talk about the types of experiential learning programs. So at CISabroad, we organize our programs into two general buckets. One is study abroad, one is experiential learning, and internships fall under experiential learning. So when you intern abroad with CIS, you find yourself in a customized internship placement that we actually work with you to match towards your goals and your academic background. So you can see a lot of sample placements on our website, and hopefully we'll have time to show you that a bit later. Two other types of internships that are somewhat emerging recently, I would say, are micro internships. So these are kind of a novel concept. So essentially it's a group of students working on a consulting project or a series of consulting projects in a group. So they might meet with a client, take on, learn about a business problem they're focusing or they're experiencing. This is in the case of our international business micro internship in London. And then they go back, they work on it as a group, and then they make a pitch to the organization to solve that business problem. So that's a really unique opportunity that I think we'll probably see more of. And then another kind of subcategory of internships are researchship placements. So these are, did I say, I said researchship, excuse me, research placements. Actually, researchship sounds pretty good. Maybe I could coin that as a phrase. These are essentially geared towards students who are interested in going into a graduate degree after college, or those who want to do undergraduate research. So a lot of STEM students will seek these out. And it's an opportunity to become involved with an ongoing research project and pitch in and learn skills that allow you to go on and do your own research later. Another category within experiential learning are our TEFL programs. So teaching English as a foreign language. These are great for any student who has, well, one, for any education major who needs classroom experience. This is a really powerful way to get that. But also students who just want to consider living and working in another country after college. A teaching English as a foreign language certificate is included in these programs. So that's a neat way to gain some professional experience and gain a credential that you can use after the program's over. And then finally, the last category is service learning. So this is, if you're not familiar with service learning, I would say you can think about it as not volunteering, but it includes volunteering, but there's more to it than that. There's intentional learning taking place. So you're actually taking what we call our global community-based learning course taught by my colleague, Dr. Jen Engel. So you're actually volunteering in a host community on a project that is ongoing and taking the course with Dr. Engel to kind of reflect on what you're learning throughout. So at this stage, I'm just going to click through and show you where we have programs in the world, so just so you can get a visual sense, and then highlight one program in each region that is an internship program. So you can see on the left-hand side, all of the program locations we offer in Europe, and they're highlighted in orange as well. And the program I want to highlight from this region is our Intern in Barcelona program. So I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but Intern in Barcelona is known within CISabroad as the location where we can place pretty much any student in any internship. If we have a really a student with a niche career focus, and we have trouble maybe placing them in another location, we'll say, let's look at Barcelona because we can probably place them there. And it's a wonderful place to spend time as well. In terms of Africa and Asia, you can see our programs here. This is quite a large region, but I wanted to focus in on our program in Cape Town. So Intern in South Africa is what the program itself is called. We place a lot of students here in startup organizations, in communications companies. There's some social work opportunities as well. These are just a few off the top of my head. There are quite a few more, and I can show you those on our website. But a really interesting opportunity in Africa. And in the Americas, you can see our range of locations here. The location I want to focus on is in Buenos Aires, our Intern in Argentina program. Here we place a lot of students in business. So if you're a marketing student, management, just general business administration, or if you're interested in entrepreneurship, there are quite a few different placements available here in Argentina. And then I think you'll also see a lot of social sciences type placements. So social work again, community-based opportunities are available in Argentina. So going back to the experiential learning and the types of programs, the rest of this session is really going to focus on the intern abroad programs that we offer. And if you have questions about the other varieties, I'm happy to answer them. But there's, I think our intern abroad programs are at this point more of a focus, more popular than the other varieties of programs. So I want to give as much information as I can about those. So we offer intern abroad programs in 15 program locations in 13 countries, and in the locations that you've seen. These experiences can last anywhere from 4 to 16 weeks. And for the most part, these programs are available year round. So we'll have start dates in fall, spring, and summer. And I will say the most popular term for students to participate in these is during the summer, just based on academic calendars and things like that, having free time. But more and more students are seeing semester as an opportunity to go for a longer period of time and gain academic credit for those experiences. We have placements available in 21 career-focused fields, and I'll highlight those, I think, on the next slide. And programs begin around $3,500. So again, the focus of this session was around affordable internship experiences. And that is where our programs begin. I have a slide here that focuses on our most affordable programs. So I'll make sure and highlight those. Oh, and it's the next slide. So 4 programs here that are on the more affordable side of our internships. Now these are probably going to be for sessions in the summer in terms of the program fee and how it aligns with the term that is offered. So our intern in Thailand program, we have placements available in Chiang Mai and also Bangkok. Chiang Mai, it's really going to be focused on healthcare and also non-governmental work, NGOs. In Bangkok, it's more business focused. Intern in Ecuador, a really wide selection of placement opportunities. Argentina, I already touched on. And then in Prague, we really focus on, again, more business internships. Prague is kind of a location in Europe that's emerging as an entrepreneurship hub, I would say. So we partner with a lot of smaller organizations there, which is good for you as an intern to be able to work in a small organization, wear a lot of hats, try on a lot of different things, rather than working in a huge company where you're only gaining experience in one small area. So you can see the different career fields here that we offer internship placements in. And I wanted to make the distinction that our placements are organized into career fields and not academic fields. So for example, you won't find English here. Really, when we encounter students who are just, for example, English majors, we challenge them to think, okay, what would you like to do after college? You know, what would you like to go into? And then from there, we can work on finding a placement that's suitable. So when you're thinking about an internship abroad, think about how it will manifest, what you're studying will manifest after college for you in your career track. So a little bit about the process for an internship. It's slightly more involved in our study abroad programs, and that's because our placements, as I mentioned, are customized. So the program or the process starts with you speaking with an advisor. Once you submit your application, you'll actually have an interview over Zoom or Skype with a member of our internships team. And during that interview, they'll go over what your goals are for the future, what your skills are currently, what you'd like to improve on, etc. And based on that profile that they sort of build for you, we actually go out to our network of employers around the world or in the country that you're interested in, and we make a match. And then a lot of times there will be a second interview between the student and the host organization just to make sure everyone thinks it's a good fit. And then from there, you participate in the program. And I think on the next slide. So when you're actually on site, you have two areas of support. One is your internship supervisor, and this is your actual boss, for lack of a better term, at your internship placement. So they're there guiding you through the experience. And then outside of work, you're supported by the CISabroad site director. So that person is there to help kind of initiate you into the local culture. They're also there for emergency support. And then finally to arrange cultural activities and excursions. So on our programs, you're there with a cohort of other students, just like a traditional study abroad program. And you'll get together and do excursions, visits to, different parts of the city, different parts of the country on the weekend or on breaks. On our programs, you have two different support systems. I won't spend too much on this. I just want to make it clear that academic credit is available for our internships. Sometimes we have students who will seek academic credit through their home institution. And you can speak with your Education Abroad office about that possibility if that interests you. But we can also provide academic credit through our School of Record, which is Plymouth State University in New Hampshire. So if this is of interest, it's an additional fee, but you can earn between 3 and 12 academic credits towards your degree. So if that's something you need or are interested in, you can just let our team know and we can make that happen. Okay, so I said half an hour. I'm coming up on that, so I'll try to get through the rest so we have plenty of time for questions. So this slide is one I meant to skip. I want to jump straight to actual internship placements. So I'm going to focus on just three areas. For example, health, if there are any health students out there. As I mentioned, we host a lot of students in Chiang Mai, Thailand, who are interested in public health or plan to go into medical school. So this is one example placement. So this student was a public health intern at a government health clinic. And this is quite typical of our intern in Chiang Mai program, where students are embedded in health clinics in rural locations. So these are serving oftentimes ethnic minorities who are quite populous in northern Thailand, in and around Chiang Mai. So having the opportunity to do shadowing and some light hands-on work in Thailand. And then in other locations, Ecuador and South Africa are also quite strong for pre-health students. For education majors, if there are any of you out there, the top 3 locations for those are New Zealand, Ecuador, and again, Thailand. This was a quote from the student here who was an intern with us in Quito, Ecuador, who taught English at a local middle school. So really gaining hands-on classroom experience in teaching English is one opportunity that we offer in a number of countries, but these are some of the best locations to look at. And then for engineering, a lot of students I talk to think, oh, I'm a STEM major. My field is just too difficult to find opportunities abroad for electrical engineering or whatever it is. The student who is from Virginia Tech, electrical engineering major, and was able to find an internship that I like this quote. She says, gives her a better idea of what she actually wants to pursue in college. And that's kind of, for us, that just gives us the warm fuzzies. That's why we do what we do, so we're glad to see that. Engineering placements are available in Barcelona, surprise, surprise, Australia, and Vietnam. As well, I think Ecuador could also be a good fit for engineering students. Okay, so I have a little bad news now. I know I've gotten you all excited about our intern abroad programs, and you're thinking, okay, I want to make it happen this summer. You might remember I mentioned that we've kind of narrowed our program portfolio for 2021 due to the pandemic. And that means that our only intern abroad program that's being offered this summer, and this year in fact, is our summer intern in Barcelona program. So the bad news is that the other options are off the table for this year. But the good news is that, as I mentioned, Barcelona has an enormous array of internship placements through our network there. We can accommodate students who speak no Spanish, no Catalan, all the way up to students who are fluent in either. We work with a lot of organizations that are very global in focus, and in a lot of cases, English is their kind of day-to-day working language. So you can see the program dates for this summer here, if there are any of you planning for summer 2021. The program runs for 6 weeks or 8 weeks from early June to mid or late July. And the program fee is listed there. The difference will be between the 6 or 8 week session. And you can find more about this program on our website, CISabroad.com. And I might have time to show you at the end, depending on how many questions you have, some of the placements available in Barcelona. Okay, briefly, virtually, I want to touch on our virtual programs. These have been rather surprisingly popular. During the pandemic, I think students are starting to see value in having a remote experience. Personally, I've worked remotely for 5 years now, and it doesn't surprise me that that students are able to do really amazing things in a remote work environment, because I like to think I do every day. Only kidding. But in all seriousness, our program here is called a Virtual Global Internships. And these are 6-week programs. And we place students in organizations remotely in 6 countries. So Ecuador, New Zealand, South Africa, Argentina, and New York City, actually. So you work between 15 or 30 hours per week. Credit is optional. You can tell this experience looks a lot like our on-site internship program. Something that is a little unique about it is that we offer a lot of supplemental material through our online learning platform. So you'll have cross-cultural debriefs with our site directors on site. So you're getting that culture piece, which I mentioned was so important. You'll have professional development workshops and seminars throughout the program to really make sense of what you're learning in your internship, and to teach you how to harness the power of it and take it out into the world and make employers know, make employers aware of everything that you've taken from it. And we also offer the opportunity to earn the Working Remotely Across Cultures micro-credential, which you can see in the top right. This is a badge you earn through certain aspects of the program that you can actually put on your LinkedIn or your resume or whatever it is, which employers can click on and link out to a substantial description of the learning outcomes of the program. So it's kind of a neat aspect of this program. So talking about funding opportunities and just finances in general, included in the CISabroad program fees are everything you see here. We like to say it's everything that you might need for your program abroad, except for your flight and meals. And there's a caveat there around meals. If you do a homestay experience, if you choose homestay over an apartment style housing, meals are often included in homestays. So really almost everything is included in our program fees, which again, as I mentioned, we try to keep as low as possible. And that's something I didn't mention for virtual internships. The program fees are much, much lower than the on-site programs, as you'd expect. So if finances are an issue and you're looking at gaining professional experience, I would check out a virtual internship. So this just talks a little bit about the different sources of funding that we offer. One is financial aid through your home institution. So make sure to talk with your Education Abroad office and financial aid office on your home campus to talk about how you could apply any existing financial aid towards your study or intern abroad program. But then funding opportunities are also available through CISabroad. So if we are affiliated with your home university, which your Education Abroad office can tell you that, you'll automatically receive a discount on our programs. There are also scholarships and grants you can apply for, and quite often promo codes that you can use to reduce your program fees with us. So I generally talked about process earlier, but just again to focus in on your next steps. If you're looking at a program that I've highlighted here, you'll want to do a bit of research on CISabroad.com. It's very important to talk with your Education Abroad advisor at your home institution. Set up a time to speak with them, either in person or virtually, and then you'll begin your application process. And typically, when you apply for programs such as these, you will apply with CISabroad, but also with your home university. So you'll do 2 applications. Just something to keep in mind. All right, and that is all I have for you today. How long did I last? 38 minutes. Whew, okay, went a little long, but I'm happy to take questions now. I would love to answer any questions you have if you've put them in the chat. Also, feel free to unmute yourself and ask them verbally.
Hi, I have 2 questions.
Hi, Cedric. Sure, go for it.
Hi. Okay, so my first question, so I know you touched a bit on it earlier about COVID, but I was wondering if you can like explain more of like what does like intern or what does like study abroad looks like in the future due to COVID. So by that I mean like, is it a possibility that you can do it, like, or so like is it something that got to be postponed to next year, or like what does that process look like with COVID? And then my second question would be, so to be able to be able to intern, you have to uh so you got to pay a fee to be able to intern. I guess that would be my question, sorry to say. Like, to be able to intern, you got to like pay a fee. So I guess that kind of makes sense of my question.
Yeah, sure. So let me tackle the first one around COVID. So I think initially when this all kicked off last year, we didn't know how it was going to impact education abroad, and students largely have not been traveling in the numbers that they did previously since spring of 2020. So we're starting to see more students abroad being able to go abroad with certain precautions in place now. CISabroad currently has around 30 students abroad, which is a very low number for a typical spring for us. But we've been able to make that happen due to careful planning, keeping a close eye on the conditions on the ground in each location, and abiding by the rules of the host country. So, for example, in a lot of countries, they're requiring a quarantine period and testing before you depart and once you arrive, and then throughout your quarantine. So, for example, we had students arrive in Thailand a couple of weeks ago, and they each country has a different policy. They were in specific hotels that the government of Thailand designated as quarantine hotels. And so they couldn't leave. They could, use the hotel, its facilities, and they were tested throughout their time there. And then once they got 3 negative tests or 2 weeks elapsed, they were able to leave quarantine. And so all our students are out of it now and able to participate in their study abroad program just as they normally would, except with a mask on and lots of hand washing, essentially. So we're keeping a close eye on what's going to happen for summer and fall. I think everyone is quite hopeful that with vaccines coming, more and more programs will be available. So I would schedule some time with your Education Abroad office to talk through what it means for you and your plans. That would be my best piece of advice. But also, you can keep an eye on our website and what programs are available there. We've published the programs we intend to offer for summer and fall. We don't anticipate those changing, but in this environment, you never quite know. So we're trying to keep those as up to date as possible. And then to your second question around, you broke up a little bit, so I think you were asking about, paying to intern, essentially. Is that? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
This is a common question, and one I get often from students who maybe haven't considered interning abroad in the past. Why would I pay for an internship? Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? And completely understandable question. Typically for our programs, without exception for our programs, there's no compensation for your internship, so you're not paid to intern, and that is due to visa requirements. Quite often you're on a tourist visa or a student visa for our programs, and you're legally not allowed to be paid for work you do abroad. So that's one hurdle. And then the program fees that CISabroad charges students for our intern abroad programs, these are built around, or these are for what is built around the internship. So in essence, you're not paying for the internship itself, you're paying for housing for the internship, the cultural activities that our on-site staff do, the insurance that's included in the program fees, the excursions and things like that. So it's not so much that you're paying to intern, it's that you're paying for everything that kind of surrounds the internship, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, were there any questions that came in through the chat? I'm not able to see it actually.
No, I don't have anything in the chat, but if anyone doesn't want to unmute themselves, they can put the questions in the chat as well.
Please do. I have a few frequently asked questions on the next slide that I can go to if it helps, but I'm happy to take specific questions from you all.
I'll be brief, if that's okay. I had a lot of questions, but I know I can do my own research on the website later, so I'll leave those specific ones for later. But I guess just more broad questions was, you were talking about people who have a really niche kind of focus or place they want to intern, or just their major maybe is really niche. So for that, you said that a traditional abroad experience is where you go with other people, but the abroad experience I had, I went with one person. So my question is, if you have a really niche major, do you go by yourself then? Are you the only one in that internship?
Yeah, good question. So typically on our intern abroad programs, we will have enrollment from students from around the US. And so on an intern abroad program, obviously they're not taking classes together, but they're all interning in different host organizations, if that makes sense. So they might go off, one student to one part of the city, another to another part of the city, but then they will very likely be in the same, housing setup in an apartment or an apartment building, and they'll come together as a group for the cultural experiences and excursions that are facilitated by our on-site staff. So in that way, you're kind of flying solo in your internship itself, but on the program, there are others with you. Now, in certain locations, we might have a program that only enrolls one student for a specific term. And that's less common, but it does happen.
Okay, thank you. My other question was, you said about education experience and education internships. Do you need to have previous education experience to do those?
Good question. Typically, no. Sometimes our host organizations, or for education, it's often schools, will say, we'd like a certain profile of student. And they might say, we prefer a student who has at least reached their junior year or something like that, or has had classroom experience in the past, which might rule out a certain set of students. But we feel quite confident that we'd be able to place any education major regardless of experience. We just have to look at all the options.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. So if I may, I'd like to just show you all where to look for, where to look on CISabroad.com for example placements. So I'm trying to, can you all still see my screen here that I'm going to another tab? So here I am on CISabroad.com. And if you want to see what students have done in the past, which for me, I think is the most powerful thing, to be able to read about you know, just a brief description of an internship placement that the students have had before. You can go to internships by field. So we click this and it will take us to these 21 career focused fields that I mentioned previously. And let's say I was a hospitality major. So on the left-hand side, it'll show you all the program locations where we can accommodate hospitality tourism type students. And if I click on, let's say Florence, I can see what students have done in the past. So wine and beverage assistant for a school restaurant, hospitality intern at a restaurant wine bar, etc. So this is where I would really recommend doing a bit of clicking around and reading about what students have done before. They're not long, they're not that in depth. So if you have questions around, you know, ooh, this sounds like something I would like to do, and I wonder if I could get more information, feel free to reach out to us. You can click this Get Info button up here at the top right and talk with one of our program advisors, and they can tell you, you know, what is the likelihood of placing you in an internship given your field, given your requirements in a certain location. And that is, yeah, that's, I just wanted to make sure you all saw this page. And then to find all of our intern abroad programs, you can just go to program types and then internships. And then you could probably see while I was doing that you can find the TEFL programs, teaching English as a foreign language, service learning, and micro internships here as well. But this is where we capture all of our intern programs. So you can see the different locations all over the world. And just like, you know, just like different universities are going to have certain strengths academically, each of our locations, we're going to have different strengths. So as I mentioned, in Prague, it's lots and lots of business placements. Whereas in South Africa, you're going to see more communications and social work and other types of placements. And that's just based on our network of employers in that location. So something to keep in mind. Most underrated internship program we offer anywhere in the world, intern in Vietnam. Vietnam is an incredible country. I want to plug it. I visited our program there a couple of years ago. I was whisked around to 5 different internship sites. Everyone spoke flawless English. I saw students doing engineering internship work, digital like ad design, tons of different things. Just the spur of the moment recommendation, but don't rule out Vietnam. It's that program is based in Ho Chi Minh City.
For just a quick question, for these ones that you're going through here, can I know it says like read more and it has a couple short things like the gap year friendly and stuff such like that, but how do we, if we click read more, will it tell us more about what types of fields are in that internship? Like you said, Barcelona is kind of a catch-all. So would it tell you the fields, or is it just kind of general about Barcelona?
So good question. I'll just show you an example. This is the Barcelona one that is available this year for summer. And this page is going to be packed with information. It's a lot like, it's kind of the inverse of that other page I was showing you that had placement information. So instead of on the left-hand side being different programs, it's all the different fields. So as you can see, it's quite a long list of different career fields available in Barcelona, and you can just get a sense of, again, you know, what students have done before. So again, if you're more location focused, if it's like, ooh, I have to go to Barcelona, or I have to go to Barcelona because it's the only option this year, you know, visit the program page first, and then you can see what types of placements are available there. And then there's a lot of information here, so I encourage you all to click around. You can read about, you know, life in Barcelona. These videos are fantastic. This is my colleague Pat talking with our site director Elena. So you can get a sense of what the on-site staff is like, what housing is like. This is going to outline the apartment style housing or the homestay option in Barcelona. So this is just packed with information. And then at the very bottom of each program page, we'll find the program fees and dates. So very handy resource to.
Do all the programs have homestay options, or is it just select ones?
Good question. Yeah, it's actually just select ones. So for us, it tends to be that homestays are more available and popular. I'm sorry, I'm just going to put this slide up for the different institutions if you want to get in touch with their staff. Homestays are more popular and available in Spanish-speaking countries. So I think you'll see that we have them in Costa Rica, Barcelona, Ecuador, Argentina, and then in Italy there are a few. I think in Florence and Sorrento, I think you can do a homestay. Maybe not Sorrento, Florence for sure. But yeah, not many other locations. So we have about 5 minutes left. I wanted to put this slide up. If you haven't been in contact with your Education Abroad office on your home campus, this is how you can do so. Please do. That is an important first step in order to making Education Abroad happen for you. And I think we have some of the staff members from your institutions on the call. So if any of you would like to give a shout out, feel free.
Thanks, Kent. This was really helpful and really useful. I really appreciate it.
Happy to host. I can stick around for a few more minutes if anyone has any questions. And if not, we'll just wrap up. Anyone else? Last call?
Just a quick question about micro internships. Is there a specific place on your website for those?
Sure, yeah. So I can go back to our website. So currently we have one micro internship program, and it's our International Business in London program. So as I mentioned previously, this is a really unique program model. Students are able to gain experience. I think they do 3 consulting projects within a 3-week period. So they have the initial client meeting, and they work as a group or in small groups to come up with a concept, and then they do a pitch meeting to the organization. So this program was meant to run in 2020. Of course, it didn't. It's one that we're not able to offer this coming summer, but we hope to offer it in 2022. And you can get a sense here of the different projects, the different consulting projects that take place in each of the 3 weeks. Yeah, so that's a little bit about that. Hopefully we'll be able to not only launch that program, or run that program, but launch others. I think it's a really neat concept to get some hands-on experience and learn about consulting. I was a business major in college, and I heard about consulting, but I really didn't know what it entailed until I left college. So really unique opportunity for business majors.
Yeah, I can see this being very popular. I don't have anything in the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm going to snap this slide up just really quickly. This is our contact information at CISabroad. If you have any questions, we're always happy to help. And otherwise, you know how to find us on CISabroad.com if you need anything or want to do your own research.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.